When you see the BS, you got to call the BS out. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get rolling, baby.
So I guess being woke now means you know that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Actually, being woke means you lack perspective and understanding of regional history. Being woke means you ignore the encroachment of NATO upon Russian sovereignty, even though the United States and regional authorities have promised numerous times throughout history that NATO wouldn't continue eastwards towards Russia, which is a direct threat to Russia. Kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis, when Russia wanted to put missiles in Cuba. We had an entire blockade for that. We wouldn't let Russia anywhere near Cuba because it was a regional security issue. So being woke means you lack perspective and lack an understanding of history. And actually, now that I think of it, you also lack the understanding of regional security.
Being woke means that you will never call it the Gulf of America because its name will always be the Gulf of Mexico.
So using weird pronouns that don't even make any sense, like z, zer, zim, calling a person it or plural they, that's not a desecration of the English language. That's good. Calling a piece of area that we own, changing its name, that's bad. Y'all freak out when we dead name men who become women or women who become men, and yet you have a problem? A problem referring to the Gulf of America as the Gulf of America? It kind of seems like you hate one person, one man, more than you respect our country. That's what that actually says.
Being woke now, I guess, means you value park rangers more than billionaires?
I'm not sure what you're referring to by that, but if you're asking us if we value Elon Musk saving our very behinds from the control of the deep state and the bloated bureaucracy over a park ranger, yes. 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 Absolutely.
Being woke now means that you don't think the USA should take over Canada or Greenland.
We don't actually want to take over Canada. Like, nobody actually really wants Canada to become our 51st state. We actually just want a fair trade deal. You see, Canada started the tariff war. That's the dirty little thing that nobody in the media wants to tell. That's what they don't want to say. They started it. They both put tariffs on American goods, and they don't pay for their own security. Canada and Mexico enjoy a regional security unlike any other country in the world. Think about it. They're next to us. So what Canada did was, instead of building an army to defend themselves, they relied on us because, we're not going to let anything happen to our little sisters to the north. So what did they do? They decided, instead of putting their money into their security, they were going to do universal health care. And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of Americans who would love to have universal health care here. I'm not one of them. I'm actually against it. But that's beyond the scope of this video. The point is Canada has universal health care because we provide the regional security. Without us, Canada wouldn't even have universal health care. They wouldn't have a lot of the perks they do. And they are currently allowing for porous borders. The border, we also want a secure border on their side. They allow, do you know most of the fentanyl doesn't actually come from Mexico? It comes from Canada. All they have to do is live up to their security agreements and stop it. This whole war is about the safety of Americans not overdosing on fentanyl and the prosperity of Americans not getting screwed over by trade deals that are clearly unfair and a tariff war that we didn't start, but as an Americans, you know our history, we sure as hell will win. And as far as Greenland is concerned, to be perfectly honest, we kind of need Greenland. You don't understand regional security, but people higher than you do. We're pulling out of the Middle East. We're pulling out of the East. I don't know if entirely, but definitely the vast majority of our troops and everything is pulling out of the East. So we're actually starting a regional security, and Greenland is instrumental in the security of the United States, especially in regards to China. We also need their minerals. Their minerals will go a long way to helping the United States maintain its dominant position in the world. And frankly, I don't know why Greenlanders are whining about not being part of the United States. We are the freest country in the world. We're not going to take them over. Nobody's getting taken over militarily. Might they bend the knee and become Americans because we're able to financially cripple them to the point where they want to become part of us? Yep, but it will be without a shot. And they should be proud to be Americans, because America is the greatest and the freest country in the world.
Being woke now means you would rather have air traffic controllers, park rangers, and Social Security instead of a $5,000 check from Elon Musk.
We do. We will continue to have traffic controllers. We will just have properly trained traffic controllers. We will continue to have park rangers. We're getting rid of some parks because we're opening up drilling, because gasoline should only be pennies. We have more oil underneath our feet than the Middle East. There's no reason why we should be outsourcing our energy needs to a foreign hostile country. So if we've got to uproot some parks, fire some park rangers, hey, it's for the security, safety, and the benefit of American citizens. And not a single citizen is going to lose SSI. They are streamlining the Social Security office. They are firing a bunch of federal employees that do practically nothing. But nobody is losing their benefits. No citizen is losing their benefits. They are simply taking out the bloat of the giant bureaucracy. We have a bureaucratic system that is so insanely bloated that we can't financially support it. That is literally draining the financial life out of the entire United States. This, by itself, what Doge is doing, as far as the Social Security industry is going, this will lower government cost, which will lower taxes, which will increase services. I predict SSI people will actually get more money. I predict that we will actually get an increase in services in the right places while we systematically lower the bloat of the bureaucracy. This is what businessmen bring to the table, a greater understanding of the bureaucratic system, the bloat, the money, and the financial system. You see, you have no idea what's going on. And you're so bogged down by propaganda that all of these points, you actually think you're saying something.
Being woke means you don't want the economy run by a guy who bankrupted 4 casinos.
No, you want the country run by people who've never built anything in their entire life. This man went from a million or two to billions of dollars. That's a success. And did he go bankrupt? Yes. Yes, he did. But tell me you don't know how business works without telling me you don't know how business works. Any successful businessman worth his salt has gone bankrupt. Sometimes ideas don't work out. Sometimes the economy or the situation at hand isn't prepared for what you're bringing to the table. Maybe you're Your ideas are way too out of the box and they don't work. It's not the bankruptcies that count. It's the billions at the end of the day. That's why we're not bothered by the fluctuation in the stock market. We're fine with the lowering of the stock market because it isn't the middle that matters. It isn't the bankruptcies that matter. It is the end result. So yeah, yes, I would rather have somebody who got bankrupted 6 times through whatever businesses that ended up a billionaire than somebody who has never, ever, ever even created a business. How many billions of dollars have you made from millions of dollars, sir? How many of billions of dollars have any of these politicians or any of our last umpteen presidents made outside of office from millions of dollars? You please help me out with that information. I'll be waiting patiently for your response.
Woke means you know that tackling a woman and zip tying her hands before dragging her out of a town hall meeting is about as un-American as it gets.
No, don't interrupt somebody in the middle of a town hall meeting. Don't act like an agent of chaos and your idiot behind won't get zip tied and dragged out and tossed in the back of a truck. We don't care. Nobody cares. Guess what? They did that to conservatives. And you're going to get it too, especially when you act like nutcases. Especially when you continue to act like disruptors instead of letting our government function and instead of letting them speak and explaining their understanding, their policy procedures. You're going to freak out and lash out and scream and yell. We've all seen it. So don't be disingenuous. They deserve it. Everybody that's happened to. I've never seen somebody raise, hey, I've got a question, Mr. Politician. Zip tie them and throw them in the back. No. Look at the entire video. That never happened. The people who are getting thrown in the back, the people who are getting dragged out, they're getting dragged out because they choose to get dragged out. That is of their own choice.
Being woke means that you know America became land of the free by resisting a king's tyranny.
Yes. Yes, that's true. Where was that when they locked us down, fired a whole bunch of federal workers and kicked a whole bunch of people out of the military for exercising freedoms of not getting jabbed with an experimental needle? Where was that energy? Because that's not what's going on right now. He's not a fascist dictator. He's not a king. You sound silly.
Being woke means you trust Dr. Anthony Fauci more than some Palooka Joe with a podcast.
Honestly, I would just trust a random stranger on the street over Fauci. Are we talking about the same Fauci that got a pardon from Joe Biden? Are we talking about the guy who lied about the origin of the lab leak? Lied. Are we talking about the guy who said that 6 feet apart and paper masks would save you from the deadliest disease, deadliest pandemic in ages? You're talking about the same Dr. Anthony Fauci who is actually an investor in that lab that leaked that virus? And you're talking about the same Anthony Fauci who pushed the vaccines on us, telling us that the whole tyranny would be over once we all complied with his mandate of a jab, of a vaccine that is now literally killing millions of people. People are suddenly dropping dead. And that isn't suspicious. That Anthony Fauci versus a well-intentioned podcaster who doesn't have any financial stake in the entire situation, somebody who's talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of very brilliant and very smart people, and while he may not be exactly a rocket scientist himself, has a well-intentioned and earnest demeanor who asked earnest questions, who was constantly labeled conspiracy theorists and liars, and constantly lied about by the mainstream media. And it's all been proven that he was lied about. So whose word am I going to take? Yes, definitely the podcaster. I will take the podcaster, the well-intentioned podcaster, over the liar, the fraud, and the man complicit in the murder of millions and millions of people.
Being woke means you understand that DEI was established so that white mediocre men wouldn't keep getting jobs over people that are more qualified that aren't mediocre white men.
That's just straight up racism. All that is straight up racism. DEI literally promotes incompetence by recruiting from smaller pools of candidates. That's how that works. You're going to get a better air traffic controller through recruiting in a pool of 10,000 than you are in a pool of 1,000. That's just facts, but you're not smart enough to understand that. And that isn't exactly a narrative that is even being remotely understood by the mainstream media. So, no, it has nothing to do with your racist belief that it has anything to do with mediocre white men. It has to do with promoting excellence. It has to do with finding people who are actually proper for the job. Listen, the next time you complain about DEI, the next time you want to think that DEI is a great thing, I want you to think about the Los Angeles fires, the fires that just happened here in LA. Okay? So if you're in a fire, right, you're trapped, everything's burning around you. Let's say you're trapped under a log, and all of this is completely possible, right? What firemen do you want to come and get you? Okay? What firemen? Right? Picture the firemen that you want to come and break down that door, lift that log off of you, pick you up, carry you downstairs and out to safety. Do you want a giant 6'5" man? Or do you want that black lesbian fire chief lady who blames you for being in the fire to begin with? That's DEI. That is DEI. So, which would you rather have? If you were trapped in a fire, would you rather a large, giant man or a fat, black lesbian come and save you?
Being woke means you understand that there are 500,000 college athletes and less than 10 of them are trans. We don't need special laws to persecute one tiny little sliver of a demographic.
It's a lot more than 10. You're right, the percentage is definitely small, but it is still significant. Players are getting hurt by mediocre men who want to play with women because they can't hack it in the men's division. So women get hurt. Women lose scholarships and they lose opportunities because for some reason scholarships and opportunities are for athletes. That's just the way it's been. Tell me you've never played a sport without telling me you've never played a sport. Obviously, by looking at you, I can tell you've never played a sport in your life. Men are bigger than women in every way, shape, or form 90% of the time. And they hurt women and they can dominate women. That's why a man will almost never go into a woman's league and play like last. They are always at the top. This is still a vital issue amongst women. It's for safety. They don't want, and don't forget, they are also trying to force women to allow men to change with them inside of their locker rooms. This isn't just about playing on the field. This is also them changing in front of girls inside the locker rooms, which is happening even in elementary schools. There are reports of schools forcing little girls to get changed in front of boys inside of girls' locker rooms because the little boys feel like they're girls, whatever that means. So this is a safety issue. This is a security issue. This is an emotional issue for women. This is an lack of opportunity issue for women. So you just dismiss women's security, safety, and feelings altogether. I've been called a misogynist before. I'm kind of a dick. Let's be real. I'm not a nice guy. I've been called sexist. I have no idea why I've been called sexist because honestly, this is sexism. This is men's feelings trump women's rights, which is literally the epitome and the definition of sexism. Yet somehow conservatives are labeled as sexists. I really, really don't understand that. So I hope that helped. The next time you come across any of these videos with these self-righteous libturds espousing their beliefs that they are holier than thou, go through their argument one by one, and it is easy to see the fallacies and the BS that they believe and that they push. Don't believe anybody's line just on sheer value of, I am a good person. That's right. You need to think. You need to think critically. So thank you very much for joining me. Like, share, and subscribe for another individual's perspective.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.